Today, chilling information gleaned from Osama bin Laden's compound. Material confiscated from there revealing al-Qaeda was planning a possible attack on the United States 4 months from now, on the 10th anniversary of September 11th. It's still unclear how viable the plan was, but we do know that the target was passenger trains. Meanwhile, in light of the week's events, President Obama traveled today to Ground Zero to honor the fallen and meet with some of the victims' families. We began the day with one of them.
He was a great skier. He skied in Colorado.
Rosemary Cain's son's name was George. He was 35 years old when he was killed on 9/11.
He was a good guy. We all miss him terribly.
He was a firefighter stationed in Midtown Manhattan, and on that day, one of hundreds of first responders who rushed into the towers after they were hit.
And I remember walking in my house and turning on the television and you know, those crawlers on the bottom of the screen, and I remember seeing hundreds of firefighters trapped. I'll see that till the day I die.
She's made this drive from her home in the suburbs to what is now called Ground Zero so many times since then.
You know, it's a funny thing about September 11th. Some people say they knew right away. They knew right away, they had no hope, but I didn't really feel that way. George, being the kind of guy he was, that I just thought to myself, okay, if anybody can get themselves out of there, George can get himself out of there.
Hope eventually died. And Osama bin Laden?
I wanted them to blow him off the face of the earth is what I wanted them to do.
And so today, Rosemary Cain, a lifelong Republican, is doing this drive again. This time because she's been invited to meet with President Barack Obama. When did you find out that Osama bin Laden had been killed?
Actually, one of the other mothers called me, and I was sound asleep, and she woke me up and said that they had gotten bin Laden and that he was dead. And I got kind of emotional. I didn't know whether to cry or whatever, but I hung up the phone and I was ready to lay back down and go back to sleep. And then the phone never stopped ringing after that.
President Obama arrived in New York City and headed straight to a firehouse, Engine 54, Battalion 9 in Midtown. 15 firefighters from this house died on 9/11. He'd chosen not to speak publicly, but he did talk to the men and their families gathered there.
What happened on Sunday, because of the courage of our military and the outstanding work of our intelligence, sent a message around the world, but also sent a message here back home that when we say we will never forget, we mean what we say.
At just about the same time, Rosemary Cain was heading to another firehouse, Ladder 7 on 29th Street.
How are you?
It's where my son was. It's his firehouse, and I always have to go there. The big, happy, smiling guy up there, that's my George. This is his brotherhood. This was the firehouse that he loved. He was here for 7 years. And these are the brothers that they all went to heaven together on September 11th.
Down at Ground Zero, President Obama laid a wreath at the Memorial Plaza, still under construction, then had a very private meeting with survivors' families. Rosemary was to be one of 50 or so of them. The media was not allowed inside, but we have a precious few pictures from that intimate gathering.
The president came in, and everybody was just really excited to see him, and he was very nice, very cordial to everybody, and then he started coming around and speaking with everybody.
The president also met with Patricia Reilly, whose sister died on the 101st floor of the South Tower, the second tower to be hit.
Today represents for me a closure for the justice my sister deserved. I was so grateful that the last thing that Osama bin Laden saw was an American soldier who came to get him for what he had done to us.
Word closure, I mean closure, how can you have closure when you don't have a human bone?
Bill Doyle's son died on the 101st floor too. What did it mean for you to be face to face with the president?
I was ecstatic, and you know, it's amazing how compassionate that man is, right? He really has a heart.
Deputy Chief Jim Riches also met with the president today. He lost his firefighter son, as did they all.
This is like a club that we didn't want to join, but we were in it, and somebody said the other night, like, we met the nicest people, but it was the worst way you want to meet them. We've all lost a son, a daughter, a loved one, and you make good friends with this, but it's very difficult, and we all struggle each day. And I think Obama, by hugging us, he was a father who told us, I have 2 daughters, and I can't imagine how you would feel.
How was their meeting with the president? What did you say to the president? What did he say to you?
Well, I thanked him for having the courage to allow our military to do the job that needed to be done.
People really were able to identify with him. It was an honor for me.
For Rosemary, like the other families we talked to, the killing of bin Laden provided a sense of justice, but not closure. It will never bring their loved ones back.
When I see the firefighters, I always get a big hug. I love to go to the firehouse, and I get a big hug from all the firefighters, and I close my eyes for just a second, and I make believe it's George. So, he owes me a lot of hugs.